one autism mom here with me today who will be joining me. Being built, it's a 2022 construction.
Yeah, they didn't approve me yet. I don't know whether they're going to do or not.
Hello, how is everyone today? Welcome back to BioNexus Health Podcast series, Autism Approved. Today, we will be discussing a little bit about apartment hunting. Now, this is going to be, I guess, more or less focused on the basics that's required if you are hunting for a new apartment, a new rental space for your family, especially if you have a child with environmental illness and autism spectrum disorder. So I have one autism mom here with me today who will be joining me. We have Sarah here today. She is about to begin the process of apartment hunting, and it'll be a perfect opportunity for her to learn something, get some pointers in the right direction. So let's do that, shall we? Let's go ahead and welcome Sarah to today's podcast and get started with apartment hunting.
Welcome to the BioNexus Health Podcast with Dr. Jodie A, who holds a PhD in integrative medicine, is board certified in integrative pediatrics, an internationally recognized pioneering clinician, and author. And now here's your host of BioNexus Health Podcast, Dr. Jodie A.
There we go. Hey, Sarah, good to see you again.
Good to see you again, Dr. Dashar.
So today we'll be discussing what you are about to undertake, right? It's no small task to move from one apartment to another, and you're looking to rent another apartment, and you mentioned that it was new construction.
The one I live right now?
No, the one that you're going to move into is being built. It's a 2022 construction.
Yeah, they didn't approve me yet. I don't know whether they're gonna do or not. So I'm still hunting. I don't know when they're gonna let me in.
Oh, you're still hunting. Okay.
Yeah, they're still building, so it's not ready. So I don't know.
Right.
And my lease will be up on April.
Oh, this coming April. Okay, good,
Yes.
good. So that gives you a number of months to
Yes.
kind of, look around and see what is the best option for you, right?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, because, during our appointment, when you asked me what you should be looking for, I thought, why not just do a complete podcast so it can help many people,
Yep.
right? With the housing market being what it is currently in the US, it's impossible other than go for a rental until things change for the better. Yeah,
yes,
I know.
Yeah.
All right. So, one way to proceed would be, because there is quite a bit of ground to cover, and the main reason why I wanted to do today's podcast was because, you informed me that it was a completely new construction being built in 2022. So you were like, hey, it's new construction, it should be great. We'll just move in. So that's when, it rang a warning bell in my head, and I'm like, no. There are still a few pointers that you need, even though it's a new construction.
Okay.
Right. So with new construction, this is what we had done. And if I kind of follow along the procedure that I used when we were looking to rent a new construction apartment for my son, as he went away to college, I think that might be helpful because it would be personal and practical experience. And then I'll give a few additional, I'm sure you'll have questions.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So first, yes, we looked for an apartment building that was brand new construction. So it was, it's on an island. So I was worried about moisture, right? Because Long Island, New York City is, entire New York City is an island, you know, it's like
Yeah.
surrounded by so much water. So there's a lot of moisture, and hunting for an apartment in New York City is, that's the main consideration is, you know, moisture, water damage, construction materials used, you know, what was the quality of the construction. So when it's an apartment, the building is finished, there are certain pointers which you can look at before you say, okay, you know, this is the building that I'm going to. So there was one apartment building that was 6 months old, right? Only 6 months ago it was built, very modern, very nice, very open, bright, sunshine, airy, big rooms. But you know, as soon as we walked in the building to get to the elevator, it started smelling very moldy. It started smelling very musty. You know, air conditioning was blasting because it was hot, right? It was blasting at full, and we started to smell this. And then as we were walking in, I saw, you know, like not all apartments are garden apartments, right? Many apartments are apartment buildings where you have to go through the lobby. You know,
Take the elevator and
yeah,
take elevators. Yes.
yeah, exactly. So you have to go through the lobby, look at the elevators, and then, you know, take the elevators upstairs. So that's how this building was. And walking through the lobby, of course, lobby had, you know, a lot of fragrance that they spray in the air.
Yes.
So it was, yeah, it was really hard. So what I did was I looked up at the ceiling at the vent. Okay, because, you know, AC was blasting full on. So I looked up at the vent, and since it was only 6 months old, all I could see was little black dots around the vent. It wasn't full on, you know, surrounded with mold. So that was like, okay, something is going on there. Something's wrong with the overall HVAC. And then when I went into the hallways, like, you know, it was apartment 330. So we had to go from 301, you know, all the way around to apartment number 330. And as we were walking down the hallway, the floor was carpeted in the hallway. And I saw little patches of, you know, I guess doggy feet. So I knew, yeah, so, you know, animals were allowed. And then I was able to get a little bit of odor as well, you know, I mean, so the hygiene wasn't that great. And then when we went to this beautiful apartment, again, lovely, right? Very bright, sunshine, lots of windows, glass everywhere. Very reasonably priced as well, right? Rent-wise. But the smell in the air, it was very musty. So there was no way I was going to do you know, anything with that apartment. So we walked out, and then we saw another apartment building, which was, you know, the lobby was clean and clear. The carpeting was clean and clear. We also used the lobby bathroom just to you know, kind of check the cleanliness standards. And this was actually near the water. So that was very interesting that this building that is on the water, right, in a waterfront, is maybe 1 block away. You can see that from the windows as well. But the construction was good overall, right? Even from the outside, we saw that there was no window air conditioners. Okay, there was nothing hanging out, right? So, you know, it was central air. So each apartment had its own little furnace, own little boiler. And so heating and cooling was its own. So each apartment had its own. I saw that I was looking up at the windows and I saw that below each apartment, there were vents for the dryer, right?
Oh.
Each apartment had its own washer dryer as well, right? Stackable,
Yes.
one about
Yeah.
small, it's fine. At least it's your own individual. And plus it was new construction, so brand new. All right. So that was a big plus. I'm like, you know what? There are no window ACs. There is no splits. There's no wall ACs as well. Sometimes there is this big, have you seen those apartments where they have this big console for heating and cooling that is like stuck in the wall?
Yes.
Right. So I have seen apartments with that. I've had reports of patients that pay very high rent for apartments with that console. And inside, there's green and white mold growing.
Oh my God.
Because the filters are never clean. So if you're looking at new construction that has those, big box, a control box, control console stuck in the wall, and on the outside, when you're looking from the outside, it just looks like a black grill in the wall, right? Which is the outlet, the exhaust.
Yes. Yeah.
Check inside the console to just make sure that it's clean. If there is any mold, it's going to spread.
I know.
It can happen. It can happen because, construction workers, and sometimes the windows are left open for fresh air, etc. And then water comes in, they kind of forget to close the windows. I had one patient who I recommended that I understand it's new construction apartment, but have the vents, the AC and heating vent cleaned up, at your own expense. Obviously, the apartment complex is not going to pay the vent. No,
they're not going to pay.
So she did. And she was skeptical. No, it's brand new. I'm like, please, just, this is a little child with autism. I'm telling you, it's your child with autism. So just try. She did. And the vent cleaning company found 2 beer cans in the ducts.
Oh God. Oh my goodness.
So of course, beer is a medium for mold to grow. So there was mold inside the beer cans. Luckily, there wasn't mold in obvious in the duct, right? Okay. So I gave her suggestions on how to sanitize the ducts. And she was glad that she did that. So isn't that interesting? Construction workers.
Wow, they just threw in there.
They just put it in there. I guess it was still under construction, and I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they were I don't know.
I know.
But that can happen. So yes. So what we did was, we approached the apartment. We as I was in the hallway has heating and AC vent. Right, it was up on the ceiling. So I looked again, it looked fine. There was no black marks. We went inside the apartment, smelled fresh. So there was no smell. Right. Yeah, there was no moisture. So it looked okay. It looked clean, Sarah, right? So I was like, okay, the walls were white, ceiling was painted white. AC was on, there was no smell, nice windows. And so first thing I checked was the furnace. Okay. So I asked him to open the furnace door, and I looked, and they had a very, beyond basic. It was like absolutely ridiculous filter in the furnace. It was like nothing, it was a thin piece of, I don't know what, and yeah, it just looked like, thin piece of filtration material, and it was pointing the wrong way.
Oh.
So it wasn't doing anything. So that was the first thing I checked. So I knew that, I would have to provide my own. That's one thing I recommend always, is that change the furnace filter. Ask for the furnace filter size, and change it to one example, and I have no affiliation with the company. There are many different companies out there that make filters, like Filtrete is one.
Yeah.
It's available at Home Depot. You must have seen, right, Filtrete.
Yeah.
So they have one filter that's called as, I think it's ultra allergen, or allergy gold or something like that, some nice fancy name, which filters all the allergens out.
Oh, okay.
And there is a MERV value, M for Mary, E for Edward, R, V for Victor. So MERV. The MERV value should be 11 or 12. So the filter should be MERV 11 or MERV 12.
Okay.
And this filter should be changed every couple months.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing to note. And one question that you might ask is, do they allow you to do that? Well,
yeah, that would be a good question. Yeah.
Okay. So because this electric cabinet has to be opened, and it's usually locked.
Yep.
In a rental. Yes, they have what is called as a reasonable accommodations form.
Okay.
So if you have someone with special needs, it is by law that they have to give you that reasonable accommodations form.
Okay.
Right? And you fill it out, and they will approve. They'll probably say it's going to be at your expense, blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's going to be at our expense, right? So
yes, I don't mind if they let me.
Right.
I will not mind at all.
So they will let you, they have to let you, if you need any kind of letter from a physician, let me know. Usually that is not required. They might ask you for the name of the physician, right? But that's fine. So that's one thing to do, right?
Okay.
Then after that, we checked the washer and the dryer. So the washer and dryer was brand new. Unfortunately, it was a front-loading washer.
Okay.
For washing the clothes. But at least it was inside the apartment. Some of the new construction apartments that we saw, every floor had a common washer.
Yeah, so everybody can use it.
Yes. So that is not ideal. I mean, I guess for the first month or so, it would be, I don't know, but I have a full podcast on washing machine. And, in that, I talk about, I'll probably link it to this podcast. In that, I talk about front-loading washing machines, how moldy they can get, and it's very important to be careful. And there's no way you can do anything about it. So I mean, I don't know. If that happens, let me know, and we'll see if we can ask for some reasonable accommodations. I mean, in this scenario, reasonable accommodations would only be if they can assign you one washing machine is for, say they have like 4 washing machines, and maybe they can assign one to you and say that, okay, this is for your family as part of reasonable accommodations. But that's hard.
It's very hard. Yeah.
So it would be best to look for some place that has its own washer dryer.
Yeah, where I live right now, I have my own washer and dryer, but
Yeah.
they old. Couple of days ago, I was just wiping with Clorox because it becomes dusty. But one time I remember the dryer was not working properly, and I told them the rental office, and they gave me another old one.
Oh.
And I'm like, why don't you just give me a new one? But so they usually don't like to give new appliances. They don't want to spend that much money on, rental office. That's my experience right now.
Right.
That's why I'm moving out. Plus the water flood that I have like a few months ago. So I'm like, I have to get a place.
Yes.
It's scary. And then mold wise, I think a lot of us, we don't know how can, it affects your health and your lives, because most of the time the doctors, they don't talk about it, number one. Number two, we live apartments that already built, and then when you're renting, if you don't ask questions, even if you ask, because I ask them, I always say, my son is sensitive, I need I want to make sure there's no mold, there's no water damage before us. They always say no. For example, when the water damage happened in my apartment now, I have my neighbor, she's a nurse. She said, so one day she saw me that, because I had to be out like 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks, took all my stuff out, threw away most of the stuff that the water touched, my beds, carpets, everything. And then she said, oh, I had the same issue 5 years ago. I didn't know that. And we have the same unit, So even if mine never had, my neighbor had it. So my question will be, if my neighbor had like water flood and they have mold, do you think we can get that into our house too?
Oh yeah, I mean, yes. So that is so interesting. Yeah, they will not inform you if your neighbor had the water damage. I mean, it will depend on the extent of the damage. That is not uncommon. If there was any kind of water damage that came in, say for example, from the window, or if there was any kind of water influx that came in from an apartment above you, right?
Yes.
The bathroom leaked or something. Yeah, they just patch it up and they put a new coat of paint, and they don't inform you, but it can affect you. That is why it's important to do a ERMI or a Hertz me before you confirm rental. So I was going to come to that, especially if there's carpeting. One of the things, so today, I'm not going to discuss remediation. I'm going to discuss what is the best apartment or, whatever size you're looking for. Some people are looking to rent a townhome, along those lines. And it would be similar criteria, which would be used is no carpeting. Most new construction apartments that don't have carpeting, they use LVP flooring, which is, luxury vinyl plank, which is typically waterproof. So that works well, if you have a pet, like many apartments allow for an extra fee to, people who have a dog or a cat or something. And, one of the most disgusting things is to go into an apartment that's carpeted and the previous renter's animal has peed on it or something. It's very not just the smell, it is also the bacteria that grow in that environment. It's not just the mold again, it's the volatile organic compounds and the bacteria that grow in that environment that can also affect you. So yes, no carpeting. Most apartment complexes that do have wall to wall will say that no, we actually steam clean and sanitize. So people say, oh wow, people think steam, great, it's extremely hot, it's going to kill everything, and then they put something on the carpet to sanitize. But think about this, that underneath the carpet is the pad. Okay, that's very absorbent.
Pad, yeah.
So even if the carpet dries after the steam cleaning, right? Because they clean and then they dry it, just remember that the pad underneath doesn't dry very quickly.
No.
Okay.
I've
And
seen when they were removing, it's like spongy. You know, it's
yes,
gonna absorb a lot.
yes, it can
Yep.
absorb a lot of water. It's spongy, so it's soft.
Yep.
So that works against it. And if it is steam cleaned and you move into this place, that's the problem, because within 24 hours, mold can start to develop where there is, waterlogging. And after a few days, you can be sure. Now, if it's in the rug, it's going to slowly climb up the drywall. So, it becomes invisible, but it climbs up. And where your drywall meets the window, they are like tiny spores, right? 0.03 microns. So
Yeah.
that's how they come out into your living space and living environment. So yes, no carpeting. Some apartment complexes I saw that had no carpeting in the living areas, but only in the bedroom.
That's what I have right now.
That's what you have, right? So we had said, our son has extremely severe life-threatening allergies to dust and mold. So can you remove the carpet? They were willing to do that, of course, at my expense.
Yep.
Okay. So if there was no choice, I would have gone for that. But luckily, we did find an apartment that had its own furnace, own washer dryer, brand new construction, no carpeting anywhere. Okay. Then, so that's that. Then the next thing we looked at was the vents. The AC and heating vent was clean and clear. I didn't see any issue, so we had the vents cleaned. Then after that, we looked at the bathroom. We saw we needed to look at the caulking around the bathtub, around the toilet, right? One thing to do is seeing open the cabinet under the sink, all the sinks in the kitchen and as many ever bathrooms you have. Open the cabinet, look underneath. Sometimes it's unfinished. Okay. So that big hole in the wall where the pipe comes in underneath the sink is visible and you can get a smell, but this was clean and clear. I touched the pipe. There was no micro leaks, both in the kitchen. In the kitchen, there was the garbage disposal as well. So I ran the water, I turned the garbage disposal on at the same time, and then I looked underneath, be careful, right? And I checked for leaks, there wasn't any. I mean, I used my hand and it was fine. I didn't put my hand inside the disposal, obviously, just, in the safe zone. And we did that. So that was clear. Then back to the bathroom. I lifted up the lid of the toilet tank and looked inside to see if there was any mold. There wasn't. So that's good. And then I put my hand behind the toilet tank. I also looked behind and there wasn't any mold there either. So that was good. I did not. So this was completely new construction, right? So I knew I was going to do duct cleaning and I knew I was going to do small particle cleaning. I did not have time for an ERMI or HERTSMI analysis because apartments were going fast. I was like, you know what? That's the only point that's missing is a clean and clear ERMI analysis. But, looking at everything that I looked at, oh, I forgot one thing, the windows.
Okay.
Yes, I looked at if the apartment has an outdoor patio or a balcony, just make sure that all around the window, there is a proper seal.
Yeah.
So no water comes in.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, make sure that, because oftentimes you will find that the white caulking around the window, especially if there is a balcony outside, there are cracks in the caulking around the window, right? Sometimes you will see cracks in the bricks, which you shouldn't see if it's new construction.
Yeah.
But that is going to let water in, and for us living in the Northeast, we're going to get snow and ice and rain and what else? Hurricanes and thunderstorms and blizzards. So we need to be sure that there's no moisture seeping in. If there is a little bit, this is something easy actually. We were able to go ahead and do the caulking on our own for the window. This was a little 1-bedroom apartment that we had for my son for college. So we did all that on our own. We said, okay, let's go ahead and say yes to the rental because everything else was fine.
Okay.
So I told you that we changed the furnace filter, right?
Yes.
And then the furnace filter, since then, it's been 2 years now, since then has been changed, every couple months. You know what we did? We actually moved from one building to another when the other building was absolutely brand new construction, right? So very interestingly, the old building, which was still only 2 years old,
yes.
Now when we go in there, I see the mold around the vent.
Oh my goodness.
It's only 2 years old, and it's just because they have constant air conditioning during the summer. It's always blasting. I don't know how much maintenance, right? They check. So yeah. Anyways, so 2 points I forgot to mention. New construction, so it should be okay. But if it is directly under the roof, and if it is a flat roof, new construction should be okay for a few years. If the roof is slanting, okay, that is even better actually, especially in our kind of weather. If the roof is pitched and it's brand new construction, that is absolutely fantastic. So, if you can get a top floor apartment in a new construction building, whether the roof is flat or pitched, that is really good.
Okay. How about if it is townhomes? I used to live townhomes. Maybe it's better.
Okay, so same thing. If it's a new construction townhome, same principles will apply. Right, whether it's like rental or if you are buying it from someone else, but yeah, the same. Now we will what else applies? Obviously apartments and condos are the same thing. Condos, co-ops, apartments, same difference. But townhomes have an upper level and a lower level. So the one thing that applies here in a townhome, if the air conditioning is in the attic,
okay,
and if it's new construction, you should be okay, but you have to maintain that air conditioning to make sure that the drain pan, if it's in the attic, is always kept clear. Because the drain pan, if it gets filled up, it leaks out. Right, you have the insulation in the attic that's going to catch the moisture and get moldy. The AC coils get moldy, and then it comes into the house as well. So that's one difference. Now, again, with the townhome or an apartment that is on the first floor and below, I've seen I saw those apartments as well.
That's what I live now.
Yes, on the first floor, right? Ground floor, first floor. Yeah. So now ground floor in other in other countries is known as first floor in the United States.
Yes,
We don't have a
yes.
ground floor, right? So
No.
just so in case there are people listening from
Yeah.
another country. So yeah, so on the first floor apartments here, you have to be very careful if there is a basement. First floor apartments are not desirable. It's best to avoid if there is a basement.
Okay.
Or even if there is a crawl space. Like some of the old-fashioned apartments, which I don't recommend anyways, but the ones that we saw had a basement where, they had not maintained the basement very well at all. I could see from walking around the building on the outside that it was disgusting.
I know.
So all of that will come up through the flooring into the apartment. I did not find any moisture barriers. There was foam insulation, which is like really toxic. The apartment we have for Brian now, the first floor is actually an open air garage.
Okay.
So that's great. And the apartments start from the second floor.
Okay.
So there's nothing underneath, but still, there are lots of pipes that run in the ceiling of the garage. So there was a pipe burst.
Wow.
In the ceiling of the garage. So one day, actually, my cleaning lady, she came in the front door and she said, Doc, luckily I was there, right, visiting my son. And she said, Doc, there is water in the hallway. So, we always take our shoes off when we come in right there. So there was water. And if you step on the floorboards, like squishy, squish,
Yes.
water. What the heck is going on? So I call the maintenance. I'm very firm. I'm aggressive, and then they know what I do. So he came within like 10 minutes, right?
Okay.
And I said, what is this? This is, if anything happens to my son because of this, it's your responsibility. That's that. So they were like, no, we're going to fix it now, and they went into the neighbor's apartment to check if there was any water leakage on neighbors on both sides. It was fine. Then long story short was that it was in the garage, in the ceiling, they had pipes, of course, it's a big building.
Yes.
And those pipes are covered with insulation, foam insulation. So they had to remove that. And they checked and they found a small leak in a pipe.
Wow.
So that was fixed. Now, luckily, remember those floors are luxury vinyl plank. So they are waterproof. And luckily there was no soundproofing padding used underneath. So nothing was soaking up the water. And, it was dried up. I put a dehumidifier, I put an air purifier, and for 3 days, that dehumidifier was sucking up the water like nobody's business.
So for 3 days?
For 3 days, that little, it was literally a patch. It was like, I would say like three floorboards for like maybe 18-inch distance had gotten a little soggy, which we addressed right away.
Okay.
Right, so it was dried up, it was vacuumed out. And then I put this dehumidifier right there, a small air purifier right there, just in case. Once it was dry, I also put like borax powder. But it wasn't needed, borax was a little over the top, but I wasn't taking any chances. This is medical school for crying out loud. I'm not taking any chances with brain fog.
I know.
So anyways, so that's what happened. So with the garages that can happen, but we were okay with the first floor apartment because not first floor, second floor apartment, because the first floor was an open air garage. Okay. And this was a plus as well because the garage was open air. So all the fumes, etc., even during the cold weather, it was always open.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was one good thing, properly ventilated.
Okay.
The garage too, so that's okay. Then so we got the ducts cleaned. Then I got a vent filter. So it's literally called as a vent filter. If you go on Amazon US, and it's one of the brands. I mean, there are many brands. It's just, search for a vent, V-E-N-T, vent filter, and you'll see some of them are individual cutout sizes. Those are more convenient because, if it fits your vent size, you're great. You just have this double-sided tape and you put it around the vent and you stick the vent filter on. Okay. Don't stick it too tight.
Okay.
But if it is a pre-cut size, it's fine. Stick it the way it is. But that's giving you extra protection. Now, people will be like, oh, well, you have a filter in the furnace, a good one. Then you had the ducts clean. And now you're putting a filter again on the duct. I'm like, yes, because accidents happen. What if one day the boiler overflows in the furnace room?
Okay.
So I don't want to take that chance, and I'm just making sure, what if my son forgets to change the filter every couple months? What if I'm not able to visit? I mean, or I forget to remind him. So it's good to have that extra protection.
Okay.
Sarah, it took me 7.5 years to heal my son. So I'm not.
I know.
I'm not compromising on anything.
You're right. I'm glad you did it, what you're doing. I'm so sad that many people are not doing what you do, because even if you don't have autistic child, it's still mold. Mold is something that can affect everybody, anybody.
Exactly.
After I started listening to your videos, and after I found out, actually, I started learning what mold is, what kind of places you can, find, what do you avoid. It's like an ocean. It's too much to read. So I like you condensing, and your videos are very helpful. So what I am looking for right now is that how can be this knowledge about mold. I don't want to just keep to myself. I just want to also people to know. That's why I'm accepting this webinar. So a lot of people I can share with my friends, my family members, so they can take and watch, and then and do their own research and do everything that you just told us to see. Because I have seen so many houses, so many apartments, with my family, friends. What you're saying right now, forget about those people. I have in my own house. When I moved here like 3-4 years ago, my son, because I was living in a townhouse, we didn't have carpet. I never lived a carpeted home until I moved this place.
Okay.
And when I came here, that's when my son's psoriasis just became like wildfire on his body. I started having myself also mental fog. I've seen memory issues with my son.
Yes.
So when I was here, like 1 year, I have seen the laundry area. I have the kitchen and then the laundry. I have seen on the ceiling, like, water. I have seen like it's kind of wet. I called the general office. They just decided. They came. They say, "Oh, let's touch it." They have something to touch. They said like, "Okay, I think it's not water. Let's check the apartment."
Yes.
Yeah. They got there. They couldn't find anything, and then I waited 6 months. It was a circle. Now it's the whole ceiling.
Oh my goodness! Oh, that is.
Like, I said, this is gonna fall on us. Blast the mold, please. I knew mold a little bit, but I didn't know this. It can affect this much. If I knew that, I would just break my list and leave. I'm serious, but I didn't know.
Yes.
I did not know that mold is that serious. So I called them again on December 2 years ago, and I said, When I called you guys, it was just a circle. Now look, it's the whole place. Please, my son has asthma. He's very sensitive. I cannot stay where there is water and moisture, and mold can be growing inside, and I cannot.
Right.
I have no way to find out. And then they said, okay, they make a cut to see if it's wet. It wasn't wet. Then they went back to the apartment before, on top of me.
Above you, yeah.
Above me. You know what they found out? The washer, the washer, you know how they have the washer
that was leaking.
The washer has like, what do you call? Okay, let me see. The washer was not leaking, and you cannot see on the floor the water, but it has like a pan that contained that water.
Right.
They never showed me the water there. It was maybe years in there. There was an old guy living there for years. And he had a lot of stuff in his home. Thank God he moved out now. Right. When they found that water pan, that thing, and they said, oh, now we know why, where this is coming from. They seal it, they dry it, they did everything. Guess what? It started the same thing right now. Okay. I have seen it now again.
Yeah. So, that you have to get out of that place. And I know you're trying to see now. Yeah. That reminds me, one of the things that I've shown in my washing machine video is this, that yes, there is usually a big plastic basin in which they put the washer, and on top of that, there's the dryer. However, modern new construction apartment buildings have a water alarm that is inside that plastic, because it's plastic. People use bleach in the washer. Yeah. People use borax. I recommend borax as well. So when that leaks out, of course, it's going to eat away at the plastic eventually, and it could leak to the apartment below. However, if you have a water leakage alarm, again, look in Home Depot, look on Amazon US, you will see those alarms. Like as soon as water hits the alarm, it gives out a sharp beep.
Okay.
So that, some kind of water has leaked out. Now, I recommend those alarms under every sink.
Okay.
Under the bathroom sink, under the kitchen sink, near the bathroom tub, because sometimes if you have a special needs child and you're leaving your child in the tub just for, safely, and they're playing, water might leak out for whatever reason. So have an alarm there. It beeps pretty loud. So I guess, if apartment complex does not provide you with that water leakage, that's code. If you are renting out to someone, that's code, that's building code, that you need to have that alarm there. But just like they have the sprinkler system, they need to have those alarms on in-unit washer dryers. So that is very important. Now, speaking of mold growth, mold growth can be affected greatly, adversely, by any environmental toxins. If you have a small leakage, that leakage is dried up, now you're only seeing that yellow spot. That yellow spot, why do you think it's yellow? Yeah, it's old water, but it's yellow because bacteria have accumulated.
Okay.
That's why. So in order to avoid that, it's very important that in your laundry area, there needs to be a dehumidifier. A small one, they have small pint size. And again, in my washing machine video, I have shown that. Now, have a dehumidifier in the kitchen and a dehumidifier in the bathroom as well. So, I actually, one more step, the closet in my son's apartment. So the wall of the closet.
Yes.
On the other side is the wall of the shower.
Okay.
It's a 1-bedroom apartment, so that's bound to happen. So what I did was, everything looks good. It was new construction, in the shower. I made sure everything is fine. There's no holes in the caulking in the shower. We re-caulked everything. But I put a little small size dehumidifier in the bedroom near the closet as well.
Okay.
And it collects maybe this much water once a week coming through the wall. I mean, it's not leaking.
Okay.
It's just moisture environment, right? Because there's no ventilation, right? There's the bathroom, there's the bedroom,
Yes.
the master bedroom closet. So we have dehumidifiers, small size ones. They're not that expensive, $39, on Amazon, and it's safety. The other day I had a webinar where one mom and dad, they heard about this alarm system that I spoke about, and they said it saved their life because their garbage disposal leaked. And when the garbage disposal, for whatever reason, fails and leaks in the kitchen sink, it comes out pretty fast. So that sharp alarm went off right away, and mom was home and she was able to kind of handle it right away, put paper towels and kind of, turn off the dishwasher or something. So she said that was huge. It saved them a lot of expense. That little alarm is what, like, $5.
Okay.
It's a very sharp alarm. So we have those everywhere. So now after you do all this, of course, air purifiers, right? Professional grade. So when you need to get air purifiers, inform my staff and we'll call them in for you. Okay, it has to come from an environmental medicine mold certified practitioner. I have to call them in for you and they'll make it and they'll send it to you. So this is professional grade, one for the living area and one for the bedroom. This is what we have arrangement. And before moving in, you should install the air purifiers and you should do what is known as a small particle wipe down. Okay, so all of my patients watching this, let me, if you need, most of you already have the formula, but if you need that proprietary formula, let me know and I will send it over. So it's literally wiping everything down, like get a microfiber cloth and wipe everything down with that formula, including walls and ceilings.
Okay, is it a solution or?
Yes.
And can we just buy from the store then? Can we just buy from
No.
Okay.
It is, it's a formula that you make.
Okay.
And you will make like an, it's like an all-purpose spray.
Okay.
Right. So you will make the formula in this plastic spray bottle, which is available anywhere.
Yeah.
And in the exact specifications, and you will shake the bottle, you get a microfiber cloth and wipe. Now everything has to be wiped down, the blinds, they actually paint these new apartments white, flashy, it looks clean. It's not. It took us 2 days.
Wow.
2 days to wipe down a 1-bedroom apartment. There was like solid black, brown dust, not black, brown dust everywhere. It's new construction, especially top of the kitchen cabinets, top of the refrigerators. Another thing, speaking of refrigerators, I always turn off the ice maker.
I don't have one, so I don't know about that.
Yeah. And I also turn off the refrigerator water. Okay, we don't drink water from the refrigerator. We don't get any ice because that's the water line coming in. Yeah. And I don't want to use that water line, keep it brand new, and we just use our own filtered water.
Yes.
Right, because behind the refrigerator, leakage in the ice and water lines is very common. And then, it gets in the walls, it gets behind the cabinets, and you are storing food in the cabinets and then you're eating it. Okay. So you have to be careful. So yeah, I usually turn that off. Now, last but not the least, well, there's a few more things I'll mention what we do, and then, it's up to you. So the extra stuff that I always mention to everyone is like bathtub filters and shower filters that should be in your protocols, the SF500 model.
I did change those ones.
Yes.
Oh my God, it
Big
was
difference.
so dirty. It was so, my goodness, when I took it out, it was like yellowish, dusty.
Yes.
I mean, it was, wow.
Change it even if it is a new construction.
How often do we need to change those?
It comes with instructions. Right now we have installed the AquaBliss SF500. It is in most of your instructions as well. So that we also soak the shower head in vinegar, because sometimes, remember, these apartment complexes, if they have another building somewhere, they will recycle their stuff. So it's not necessarily a brand new, so anything that is going in, your skin is your largest organ in the body, and it absorbs, especially during warm showers and baths, the pores are open and stuff goes in. So filtered water is very important, especially if you're doing Epsom salt baths, right? Putting in the baking soda, etc. Like I teach you to do for detoxification. So yes, so filtration of both the bath water and the shower water is important, especially if you have skin conditions, eczema, psoriasis. I've had people, as soon as they start on the BioNexus detoxification protocol, and then they install the filters. I had one patient that had the SF100 model. I said, you know what, your skin is improving already. The eczema, psoriasis was getting better. I said, switch to SF500. Let's see what happens. And boom.
What?
So yes, so there's so many toxins.
S500?
SF, Sam Frank.
Okay, 500.
So SF500 is the model of AquaBliss that, and it's not the only one. I mean, there are many other filters available on Amazon. Look at the reviews, whichever one is compatible with your shower system, right? Because this one may not be compatible with all shower systems. You have to check.
Yeah.
So that's one.
I just want to clarify the vinegar. Do I soak the bathtub? I mean, first you say soak it.
No. I soak the handheld shower head.
Oh, I didn't have that one. Okay, I don't.
Yeah, if you don't have that, then that's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to be extra careful. Now, Sarah, I forgot to mention the location of the apartment.
Oh, okay.
The location, there's only two things to remember there. One is on the outside walls, any wall of the apartment, you should not have the meters. Okay.
Oh.
These apartment buildings usually have one wall on the outside, the exterior wall, which has all of the meters. Right? Most of them are smart meters, right? Water meter, electric meter. Yes. They're all outside, and they're usually on one big common wall next to each other. So you have to be careful that your apartment is not near. I mean, absolutely not on your apartment wall. You won't. Your ASD child won't be able to sleep.
Wow.
Okay, so no. Then, many apartment buildings on each floor, they have an electrical room where they have. Right? So as far away from the electrical room, you absolutely cannot share a wall. So, not right next to the elevator. Electrical rooms are usually on one side of the elevator because elevator needs electric. Yeah. So away from the electric rooms, at least one apartment away from the elevator, not right next to the elevator. So these are extra points if you're looking to go the extra mile for your child. So that's, because I have children that have seizures that have gotten better on the BioNexus protocol. And then they come back because they make this apartment rental mistake. Or, I had one family that has now moved to Arizona, but mom and the son were absolutely forgot about these meters. And the meter was right outside the bedroom wall.
Wow. I
So
have to check
that was a
today.
mistake.
I didn't even check that. Okay, I'll check today. Electric room is next to my apartment now,
Oh,
because there is another apartment one, and then electric room, and then I'm two, second one. So, oh my God, I didn't know that. Okay.
it's kind of hard. Now, see, smart meters are absolutely, I mean, you have to be very careful. The electric room, maybe we can mitigate. There are devices available where dirty electricity, too much electricity can be mitigated, using the devices. I'll speak to you about that. But if it is a smart meter, there are smart meter covers available which block the radiation. But if the radiation is coming into the bedroom, that's just absolutely, so there are these small considerations. Now, if you are looking at a penthouse apartment, right?
Yeah.
A top floor, remember that apartment complexes have small mini cell towers on the roof sometimes. So just make sure it's not right on top of your apartment.
Okay. Small means what?
Small mini
Okay.
cell towers.
Okay. Wow. I don't want to be near that.
5G. Yeah,
Wow.
5G receivers are on top, right? For
Yeah.
Wi-Fi for the complex. So just make sure it's not like right on top of your, and don't be shy with your rental agent, just be firm. Like, what the heck do they think they are? Like, you're not wasting their time. You have actual medical needs. And remember, if your child is diagnosed ASD, there is, legally,
yeah.
they are allowed accommodations, and the apartment building, if they give you a hard time, they can get in a lot of trouble. So just remind them that this is, an idea issue, like individuals with disability, well, not really idea, Individuals with Disability Education Act, no, not that. It's ADA. I'm thinking about school.
Okay.
It's Americans with Disability Act, ADA.
Okay.
So ADA is very, very serious in the United States. You cannot mess around with a handicapped person.
I know. So I have one question about the formula that we can make. Do we have the ingredients?
Yes, you have it in your protocol. If you don't, then, message and we'll send it to you.
Okay. All right. And also the material that they use is because, the painting, things that they use.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes. So before we moved in, they usually say they're going to clean, right? They don't really clean. What clean? If you clean, it wouldn't take me 2 days. They have the cleaning service, and done. But no, they do very basic cleaning, which is not adequate. What did you just mention? Sorry.
The materials that the paint.
The painting on the walls. Right.
What do we need to ask them? So, I know what do we need to avoid?
Right. VOCs, but they will not do that. They use very basic builder grade paint, very basic paint. It smells, it has very high VOCs. So what I had requested was, I'm going to, I usually start my rental a week before moving in.
Okay.
So, I start my lease a week before moving in, so I can do the cleaning, everything that I mentioned today. So I can get all that in place, have the air purifiers in place. And then I tell them not to spray anything in the apartment because, my son has issues, allergies. And then if they are looking to paint again, I had to give them my paint. It cost me a couple $100, but I gave them Benjamin Moore, no VOC.
Okay.
No VOC. So if you go to any good Benjamin Moore dealer, and again, I have no affiliation, it's just the paint I use. And I've had good results. I haven't used any other brand because and there are many. If you want to research, there are many other brands, some online, but I found this easy. So I have a really good dealer nearby. And I got this plain white, no VOC, and I gave it to the super and he used that. Even if it's new construction, right, they still paint it again for you. So I said, I know you guys are going to do that, so just use mine. So there was no smell.
Okay. So when I'm renting, if they already use the VOC, how are they going to tell me? I mean, how will I know?
Well, you have to assume that they used basic builder grade paint.
Okay.
That's what they do.
So should I paint myself then and buy the painting with no VOC?
As part of the accommodations, right? Remember I said, there is a reasonable accommodations form. Yes. As part of that, you're not giving them any extra work. They are going to paint anyways, but you say you got to use my paint because it needs to be no VOC. So, they're okay with that. I didn't have any issues.
Oh, okay. So if I have the apartment ready, then I can give myself time to paint, to check all of this. And then they're not going to mind if I choose the color of the painting.
That I don't know. Okay. They might want to keep it uniform.
Okay. It's okay, the color, but if they just let me do it, the painting, I'll be happy. Because what about the one they already have? If they have VOC, can I just use the one I buy on top?
Yes, you can. I don't think it will cover up the VOC. It will still take, a couple months to air out, but it might take less if you cover it up. Yes. It's very important that you tell them no fresh coat of paint.
Okay.
Just leave it as it is.
Okay.
And, if they are gonna paint, then tell them that you're going to give them the paint and that's what needs to be used.
Okay, perfect. That's a good idea. Wow.
And it works, it works. If you go through the ADA accommodations and say that, this is a disabled person, these are the things, and these are small things, and you are providing all the materials. So
I know. What is the best? Yeah, what is the best air purifier that you recommend?
That is something that I have to call in for you.
Okay.
As your provider. It needs to be a professional strength. There are many out there, right?
Okay.
It needs to be HEPA, needs to have a carbon pre-filter and what have you. But yes, there are a couple of them that have been tested by Dr. Shoemaker's team, and I'll discuss about those at individual appointments.
Okay, my last question would be, can mold be in the food that we eat? I saw somewhere that the cereal can have water we drink in the air. Mold can be everywhere.
Oh, in the air, yes, but keeping your windows open in all weather, right? At least 15 minutes, like 10-15 minutes a day, even if it's very cold, keep it open. What in a house it's easier. In an apartment, what we have is if you have a balcony, the easiest thing to do is to install that, a mesh door, a magnetic mesh door. So you can open the balcony door and the mesh door stays closed. It's a screen, an automatic mesh screen.
Yeah.
So the bugs don't come in, but the fresh air comes in.
Okay.
So, I've instructed my son to open that every day, at least for 10-15 minutes, even if it's cold, like, 5 minutes. It's a small apartment, it brings fresh air. And your air purifiers, remember, they clean and recirculate the air. So if they get fresh air, that's great. And the old air goes out. So, as much as possible, 10-15 minutes. But if it's really cold, then you can only do 5 minutes, or maybe you can do like one window in the bedroom, open for 5 minutes, and open the doors so it circulates through the rest of the apartment. That's even better. So that's important.
I don't want to be out of topic. I know this is regarding only the apartment renting, but one of my questions, what about when we're traveling? We take care of the house and everything.
I have a podcast. Sorry. I have a podcast for travels. So you can listen to that.
Okay, I can write that. I saw one that you're talking about. You had like, you were in a hotel and then you smell this moist and then you start having mental fog and everything.
Right.
So I think that will take care of whatever herbs that you will give us, I think.
Yes.
So we need to take that with us. I think that will help. And then when we visit our families, like holiday is coming right now, we may travel the Thanksgiving, and then we go there, and of course they don't have, they don't have everything you're talking about. And then what do you recommend that time? What we need to do?
Okay. So it depends where you go. Are you visiting abroad?
No, in the States.
In the United States? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you're visiting in the United States, you can always take any good small air purifier with you.
Okay.
Look, that's what I do. It's part of my travel video. So all of the same things will apply. And one of the things I mentioned in my travel video is not just hotel rooms, but sometimes when you go stay with family and relatives.
Yes, that's really good.
It is huge. Not everyone can do everything. So a small relapse is possible, but as long as you're continuing the protocol, it's going to fall within the bandwidth of the protocol soon enough.
Okay. Oh my God, that's good. I think we've covered a lot.
Yes, we did. It was a lot of information.
A lot. I really want to thank you for your time. And I really appreciate what you're doing for all of us. And I will try to do all these things that you mentioned when I'm looking for an apartment. And hopefully maybe I have to buy my own house because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of renting now. And the housing system now here is kind of crazy too, because when you're building, when you want to build a house, like me and my son now, we just need a small apartment or a small condo or townhouse. Then I have the option to choose, I wanted this, I wanted it. But most of the time you find something that all is already built and you just buy it, So I can use the same
guidelines. Yes.
Same guidelines when I want to buy. So this is really helpful. I really want to thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad. And I hope it'll be useful to everyone watching as well, because many people have asked me that, and regarding the housing market, I think with the economy worldwide, the way it is,
it's not a good time.
not that great of a time.
Good time, yeah.
So everyone, thank you so much for joining us, joining myself and Sarah today for this very important podcast. And I hope to see you next time for the next episode of Autism Uprooted. Till then, be well, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining Master Herbalist Dr. Jodie A. Director of the BioNexus Health Clinic and BioNexus Herbals, on the BioNexus Health Podcast, where we explore and share information and stories about recovering and healing from chronic and environmental illnesses such as mold biotoxin illness, Lyme disease, autism spectrum disorder, fatigue, Crohn's and colitis, mast cell activation syndrome, PANS, and more. Please help us grow our message by subscribing to our podcast channel and sharing the podcast on your social networks. For more information, visit bionexushealth.com.
Information within this video, audio, or text collectively known as the podcast, has not been reviewed by the FDA. Nothing within the podcast is intended as or should be construed as medical advice. Information is for general informational and educational purposes only. Consumers of the podcast should consult with their healthcare practitioners for medical recommendations. Seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider. Do not disregard the advice of a healthcare provider based on any information from the podcast. The information within the podcast may contain information concerning dietary supplements or over-the-counter products that are not drugs. Our dietary supplement products are not intended for use as a means to cure, treat, prevent, diagnose, or mitigate any disease or other medical or abnormal condition.